Welcome to my channel, where the scariest stories come to life. Before we dive into today's chilling tale, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications, so you never miss a story. Now, let's get into the horror. Many years ago, I worked night shift at a beachside hotel in Myrtle Beach during the tourist season. Most guests were families, and with on-site security, things were usually calm. But once winter arrived, everything changed. The hotel offered low weekly rates to attract older snowbirds looking to escape the cold. Unfortunately, these same rates brought in a rougher crowd. During those months, the hotel became home to all sorts of strange and unsettling characters. I witnessed more meth busts than I could count, broke up violent fights, and saw things that still haunt me. Homeless people would often wander in from the cold looking for warmth and free coffee. Technically, I was supposed to turn them away, but I never had the heart. As long as they behaved, I let them stay and warm up. Working night shift during the off-season led to many bizarre encounters, but one night stands out above all the rest. It changed everything for me. Earlier that evening, I had gone to see an indie wrestling event with my best friend. I even got to meet a wrestling legend and proudly showed off my signed shirt when I got to work. I had swapped an hour of my shift with a coworker to make the show. Everything felt great. My buddy Andrew, who handled maintenance for several properties owned by the same company, dropped by to grab some food for us like he often did. We were chatting and laughing about the match when the front door chimed. I walked toward the back to hang up my shirt when I heard someone yell something. I couldn't make out the words. As I stepped back toward the front, I saw Andrew collapse in front of me. Before I could react, a man came around the corner and struck me in the head with a steel pipe. The blow knocked me to one knee. He hit me again. Another man shouted that someone had called the cops. Then they both bolted out the door. Bleeding and dazed, I stumbled to the office to call the police. My hands fumbled with the phone and I slammed it down in panic. I locked the doors as quickly as I could. I didn't know if the attackers would come back or if Andrew was alive. I finally managed to call 911. Blood was running down my face as I told the dispatcher what had happened. I also phoned another hotel nearby where our night manager worked. At first, he thought it was one of our usual pranks. When he realized I was serious, he rushed to help. Police and paramedics arrived soon after. That's when I learned Andrew had escaped by vaulting over the front desk and flagging down a passing patrol car. He saved us both. I was taken to the hospital. My scalp required staples and stitches. The pain was intense, but the morphine helped. I had no ride home, but the hospital staff kindly paid for a cab. Despite everything, I still planned to return to work. Christmas was around the corner, and I had 3 kids depending on me. When I came back, the hotel's IT guy was pulling video footage for the police. I had believed I was only hit twice, but the video showed a much darker truth. The 2 men had beaten me repeatedly while I tried to get up and defend myself. I had no memory of struggling or grabbing the pipe, but it was all there. They only stopped when Andrew escaped and yelled that the police were on the way. The company moved me to another property for safety, and I took a week off to heal. Even after I returned, every time the front door chimed, my heart would race. I couldn't afford to quit, but I was terrified. The attackers were never caught. A detective visited a couple months later and showed me some mugshots. I recognized 2 of them vaguely and said I was about 85% sure. That wasn't good enough for him. He shouted, asking if I really wanted someone in jail for attempted murder based on a guess. I just stood there, stunned. I was the victim, but somehow I was being treated like the problem. I never returned to that hotel again. I gave up night shifts for good. Looking back, it's hard to believe I ever thought that job was safe. It wasn't. Not for me, and not for anyone. There was this building on our high school campus that everyone called the old building. It wasn't actually older than the rest, but it had been shut down for as long as anyone could remember. Every door was boarded up, and we were told to stay away from it. Nobody gave a clear reason why, but we all knew the story that got passed around. According to the legend, there used to be a janitor named Mabel, and despite the name, he was a man. He worked in that building years ago. One night, while working late, an escaped mental patient supposedly broke in. The lunatic killed Mabel by drowning him in one of the toilets, then used a hacksaw to chop him up and flushed the pieces down the drain. After that, the school shut down the building permanently. The story was that it wasn't right to teach kids in a place where something so horrible had happened. Of course, kids being kids, the legend didn't stop there. The story evolved. Now, the tale was that if you went into one of the bathrooms in that building, made sure all the stalls were closed, and then said the words Bloody Mabel 5 times into the mirror, Mabel would rise out of the toilet, kill you, and drag your body into the pipes. It was obviously made up, but that didn't stop anyone from daring each other to try it. Eventually, it was my turn. A few guys who didn't like me dared me to go into the building and do the ritual. Even though the school tried to keep it sealed, everyone knew about a broken window in the back that students used to sneak inside. I pretended I wasn't scared, but I was definitely nervous as I slipped through that broken window. The place looked just like you'd expect an abandoned building to look. Dusty, dark, full of graffiti. The bathroom I was supposed to go to was on the east side of the bottom floor. It wasn't hard to find. There were drawings and spray paint all over the wall, most of it saying Bloody Mabel in messy letters. I had a flashlight, but I knew I wasn't supposed to use it during the ritual. No one would have known if I did, but I stuck to the rules anyway. I stood at the mirror, staring at the reflection in near darkness. The middle stall door was already shut, which made the room feel even creepier. I took a breath and started saying the words. Bloody Mabel, Bloody Mabel, Bloody Mabel, Bloody Mabel. I paused before the last one. My heart was pounding. Then I said it one last time. Bloody Mabel. Nothing happened. I felt a wave of relief. The fear slipped away just like that, and I actually laughed at myself. I turned to leave, still feeling a little proud for going through with it. But the second I stepped out into the hallway, my blood ran cold. A man was standing right in front of me. He looked filthy, like he hadn't bathed in weeks, and the way he stared at me made my skin crawl. I froze. He didn't say a word, just looked at me like I had ruined something for him. I stumbled backward and hit the floor. He stepped toward me, towering over me like a shadow. My heart felt like it was about to explode. Then he grabbed me. He lifted me off the floor and slammed me into the wall hard enough to knock the air from my lungs. I was panicking, but my body reacted before my brain could. I kneed him as hard as I could. He bent over but kept holding me, so I did it again, and again. On the third try, he finally let go, and I bolted. I ran out of that building faster than I ever thought possible. My friends were waiting by the window, and when they saw how shaken I was, they knew something had happened. At first, they thought I was trying to scare them by pretending Mabel was real. But when I told them about the man and what he did, one of them called the police. Cops showed up not long after and searched the place. They didn't find anyone. We stayed by the window the entire time, so if the guy had left, it wasn't through that way. Either he knew another way in and out, or he had a place to hide that the police missed. I don't believe in Bloody Mabel. But I know for a fact there was someone in that building with me, and if I hadn't fought back, I don't even want to imagine how that night would have ended. A few winters ago, I had a terrifying encounter with a hitchhiker that I'll never forget. It happened late at night after I left a holiday party thrown by my job. I was chatting with a few coworkers when I looked out the window and saw that snow had started to fall. I hadn't expected that. I drive a Mustang, and anyone who knows cars knows that rear-wheel drives are terrible in snowy weather. So I made my goodbyes and headed out early. By the time I hit the road, the snow was coming down hard. Visibility was almost nothing. I kept my speed low, doing everything I could to avoid sliding off the road. That's when I saw someone up ahead, standing under a street lamp. It was a man, clearly trying to hitch a ride. My first instinct was to keep going. The last thing I wanted was to deal with a stranger in weather like that. But then I remembered the times when I was younger and had to hitchhike myself. I'd been lucky back then. Kind people had helped me out. That memory made me slow down and pull over. The man was about my size. I'm a guy, if that wasn't already clear. What stood out most was how poorly he was dressed for the weather. Just jeans and a light denim jacket. No gloves, no hat, not even a scarf. I figured he must have been desperate to be out in that snow like that. As we got back on the road, I asked him where he was headed. He just looked at me with this strange expression, like he didn't understand the question. I asked again where I could drop him off. This time he replied with something that made me uneasy. He asked me, "Where are you going?" I didn't like that question at all. I was already starting to regret picking him up. I told him I was headed home. Then he asked, "Where's home?" Now I really didn't want to tell him where I lived. Something about him felt off. So I lied. I gave him the name of an apartment complex on the other side of town. Then I turned the question back on him again. I asked where he wanted to be dropped off. His answer still chills me to this day. "Oh yeah, well, that's where I'm going too." He smiled. What a coincidence, huh? I didn't say anything after that. I just focused on getting us to that apartment complex. I figured I could let him out there and take off before things got weird. When we pulled into the parking lot, I asked him which building was his. He said, "No need. Just park where you normally park. I'll walk from there." I had no idea what his plan was, but I didn't want to find out. I had to think fast. I pulled into a spot and pointed at a building, pretending it was mine. Then I opened my door and stepped out of the car. He did the same. I pretended to close my door but didn't. I waited for the moment he shut his. As soon as I heard it click, I slammed my own door shut and hit the lock button. The second he realized what I'd done, he turned back to the car, furious. He ran up to the passenger side and started pounding on the window. Then he pulled a knife out of his jacket and began stabbing at the glass. When that didn't work, he ran the blade down the side of my car, leaving deep scratches in the paint as I slowly pulled away. I didn't stop. I didn't even try to swerve around him. I just got out of there as fast as I could without crashing. Luckily, he didn't manage to break a window, and I drove away without a scratch on me. My car didn't get off so easy. The side was scraped up badly, and it cost me a lot to fix. But considering what could have happened, I count myself lucky. I still think about that night sometimes, wondering what might have happened if I had told him where I really lived. Thanks for sticking around till the end. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to give the video a like and leave a comment with your thoughts. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a terrifying tale. See you in the next one.